Well, welcome to Beyond Battlecreek. Today I'm joined with my friend Delmy Guajardo.
Yes, this is me. Hello.
Welcome to the pod. Is
Thank
this
you
your
so much.
first time?
This is my first time, and I am so excited. A little nervous, but I'm so excited.
Listen, you should not be nervous. We have great conversations offline, great conversations in the hallway, and this is going to be a great conversation today about what you do. But before we get to what you do, I just need to confess, I have a Southern accent.
Oh, yeah.
The drawl comes out every now and then. The Arkansas and Mississippi and Tennessee in me really comes out. I'm trying to get rid of it, to be fair. However, it doesn't always happen. But you have a beautiful accent.
Thank you.
It's different. It's not Oklahoman.
Not Oklahoman.
Where is it from?
It is from El Salvador, so 100% authentic Salvadorian accent, like I would like to say.
Let's go.
Yes.
So how in the world did you get from across the world to Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah, definitely. I love that question. How in the world? Great where to start. I would say, so my high school, I went to a bilingual high school and it was accredited through ORU. So all, Christian schools are accredited through ORU. So I got a scholarship. And I remembered before I got my scholarship, we came and did this things called Christian School Final Competitions. And it was all of the high schools that were accredited through ORU came and compete in all these different things. And yours truly won a preaching contest. So
Stop.
Super proud of that.
We're so proud of you.
Thank you so much. And actually, it's funny because it reminds me of the sermon series that we're in right now because my sermon was Facing Your Giants. So Pastor Alex, maybe I did that sermon series before. Just kidding. But yes, through the first time I visited ORU, I remember like walking through the prayer gardens. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is such a beautiful place. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, this is the place that I want to be. Like, God, I just feel like, I don't know, it just feels like home. And it's so weird because it's a whole different side of the world. And I mean, Tulsa, never visited Tulsa before. So yeah, that's how I got to.
Yeah, Tulsa looks a little bit different than El Salvador.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
What was growing up in El Salvador like? For those of us who've never been there, I don't know much about the country except from learning a little bit about you. Like, what's life growing up there for someone?
It's just the best. I don't even know how to describe it. You have the beach 30 minutes away. You have the mountains 15 minutes away. So you can literally have lunch at the beach and then just do a 30-minute drive and you're at the mountains having dinner. So it is just the best place to be.
That's
I mean,
beautiful.
I'm not biased, but it's just awesome. The people are so warm. And I don't know, there's something every single time I go back home, and I still call it home, as you can tell, about when you land and you're just like, you can smell it. I'm here.
Yeah.
This is home. So
That's great. Tell us about your family.
Absolutely. Mom and dad and my brother still live in El Salvador. And, it's hard. It's been a little hard because of the distance. I've been in Tulsa since 2011. So it's been a while. In my first 2 years, I visited over the summer and Christmas break. And then after that, I just kind of stayed and worked over the summers and tried to be a little bit more independent. I babysat and it was so fun. And then after that, I started working and then I just went home for Christmas break. So I've been a little bit on my own, and I remember it was a hard transition, I think, for my parents because family is so big in Latin America that we did everything together. And then I think it was very hard also getting married right after college because in Latin America, you don't get married right away. So anyway, but it's been a fun journey.
Yeah.
So.
Family is important. Now you have a family
Yes.
here. Tell us about your family now.
Absolutely. I am married to this wonderful guy, and his name is Josiah.
Very good looking.
Very
by the
good
way.
looking.
Yeah.
Yes. He looks kind of like Aladdin, FYI, by the way. Yes, that's a fun fact about him. But I am married to him and we met at ORU.
Yeah. And you have a little furry baby.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for acknowledging that. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
that, Jeff.
You're
That
welcome.
just made this whole thing. I have a beautiful furry baby and he's a rescue and his name is Churro.
Churro.
Yes, he's a
I
nugget.
love it.
He's a nugget, but his Churro.
And no matter what anybody says, Josiah loves him too.
Josiah does love him, and I have proof of that. So if you ever need a picture, just let me know. I'll send it your way.
That's awesome. In case those of you who don't know, her husband Josiah and Tammy both go to the downtown campus.
Yes.
He's the campus pastor there.
He is.
Yeah,
yes.
and he's worked in finance here on our staff and done a couple
Yeah.
things. But now you both serve downtown, Downtown Nation.
Yes, Downtown Nation.
Let's
yes.
go. So how did you get to Battlecreek? I mean, we heard your story from El Salvador to America to Tulsa, but from Tulsa at ORU,
Yeah.
how did you get involved at Battlecreek Church?
It is I think it's one of my favorite memories, aside obviously from meeting Josiah, but it is one of my favorite memories. And I think it's just been the most stretching spiritual time that I've ever had coming from ORU to Battlecreek Church. And so I worked at ORU for 3 years. And then after that, Josiah, as you mentioned before, he was working here at the finance office. And I remember that one of the things that our church really believes on is family worshiping together. And we definitely had a very different schedule. So it was very hard, and it was going into our first year of marriage. So as you can tell, it's like kind of the foundation of your marriage. And we had 2 different schedules. And my job was probably a little bit more hectic when it comes to time consuming. And then Josiah's not as much. It was pretty like straight, like, how do I say that? Very 9 to 5 job, I would say.
Yeah.
And mine sometimes consisted of working over the weekends, etc. So I remember that I got a phone call one time, and they told me, and they said, "Hey, Delmy, we would love for you to be a part of our preschool team here at Broken Arrow. So I don't know if you're considering on, moving your job." And I remember I had a lunch with Amanda, and I was like, I know that what she's telling me is exactly what I need to do. And it just, obviously, it was very hard because I loved what I did at ORU.
Right.
Like, I did international recruitment, and it was so much fun, and just so many awesome stories there. But I also knew when Amanda said that there was a lot of growing that I needed to do spiritually more than anything. And I remember that after we had a couple of conversations and I talked to Clint, who oversees all of our next gen ministries, it was like, yep, I think this is it. And it was a huge move because I started, I would say, what it felt from zero. I was the preschool assimilation coordinator. So it was just kind of but investing a lot with our first time families here.
Sure. Yeah.
At the church. And I remember that I didn't know anyone. So I totally felt so alienated and like, oh my gosh, I don't know, my friends, and no one really knows and I feel like coming from ORU in the fast pace, I feel like no one knows what I'm capable of doing. But it was the sweetest time because I remember there's a lot of humbling that needed to happen in Delmy's life. And it definitely was times of crying, not because the job was awful, because I really liked what I did, but just because it was that moment of just like, I just feel like I'm no one and no one sees what I do. And then after that, I felt like I wanted to be challenged a little bit more, and this awesome opportunity opened up. And I think you know what I'm about to say.
Oh, I know.
And there was a position open to be the preschool director at Midtown campus.
That's right.
And there was this new pastor that was coming, and I think you know who he is.
I know him well, actually.
Yes, he has a Southern accent, by the way. But I said yes, and I started working at Midtown, and it was such a fun time. It still has one of my favorite families that I've met there, and just some of my awesome memories. And I mean, we shared so many things. I was remembering about Peter Rabbit. I don't know if you remember that. When we found that little bunny for Easter and we made a video. Yeah,
we saved it.
Yeah.
We saved it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was a great year. You worked at Midtown. In fact, my first Sunday was the Sunday we celebrated welcoming you too. So we kind of started right at the same time.
Yes.
And that was a really fun year to watch God use you in our preschool ministry.
Thank you.
But there was a conversation we had at the end of that year where I remember you say, "Hey, I think God's stirring something else in me." Mm-hmm. And I was kind of broken, to be fair. I was like, I don't want to lose Delmy. I love having her here. But I wanted you to be obedient. Mm-hmm. And so talk about that transition that God was calling you into something else.
Absolutely. Gosh, it makes me want to even get a little teary up because I do remember that it was very hard because I loved our team. I felt like our team was so much fun, and there's something about being in a campus, that it just makes you feel like you have a family.
Yeah.
And we do everything together. I know, Jeff, this is probably one of the stories that we always talk about, but I did want a room full of balloons. And it was just like, we had hard conversations to easy conversations to having so much fun as a team. And I remember that day when I talked to you about me wanting to move into a different role. And it all started, you can thank ORU for that. I did international relations at ORU. That was my major. And I had the awesome opportunity to go to Jordan. And I fell in love with the Middle Eastern culture, and there was such since then, this huge heart for refugees just really just sparked in my heart that I'm going to move to the Middle East, and I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure something out. And I just want to be a part of a change. And the thing that really, really like made me fall in love of Jordan, I would say, or maybe just the culture, the Middle Eastern culture. So as you know, in the Middle East, you cannot go out and evangelize. So I remember when we went to a Syrian refugee camp, and all we had were some toys like football and soccer and stickers. And I remember that day we got the opportunity to sit with a lot of families that were there and just hear their stories, right? And, I was a lawyer, I was a doctor, and everything just kind of like, after, like through the war, everything just went down. We had to flee, etc. So your heart is breaking, right? And you just hear all these heartbreaking stories, but somehow they end up having a smile in their face.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, there's something more here. And I remember that we went out and we started playing with the kids, and we were giving them stickers. And I remember that someone reached out and said, hey, would you mind praying for me? And she says, I feel like your God listens to your prayers. And I remember just sitting and just being like, there's nothing that really talks to them more than just your actions.
Yeah.
And that right there was just what made me just fall in love with the Middle East, and just like, hey, God, whatever it is, like, I just want to be a part of this world where all it takes is just to show your love to others.
Yeah.
And they just want to know you. So, it was that moment. And I remember that when Josiah and I were starting to get a little serious, and we started talking about, okay, so what are we going to do if we were to get engaged? Like, what's our next step? And I said, well, there's this awesome nonprofit in Washington, D.C. that I would love to be a part of. And this is funny, but those that know me will know that I say this a lot. I always envision myself walking in the streets of Washington, D.C., wearing a pencil skirt and some high heels. So that was just something that I wanted to do. And I think it's also that part of you, like, I want to change the world, and I'm ready, right? And I'm ready with my pencil skirt. So anyway, and I said, so either we move to Washington, D.C., or we go to Jordan, and I mean, I just want to move, or we stay in Tulsa and that's it. And I remember that it was like, okay, we'll figure something out. So even Josiah's story coming into the church, I remember that when we were engaged, that was the solidifying moment of like, there's this church that I am going to be a part of that has a ministry with the Middle East. So I told him, and I said, for some reason, it gives me so much peace that this is where we belong. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I didn't I started working here, and I wasn't a part of it, was not even part of the missions world at all. So it was kind of right there where it all started. Yeah.
That's where it started. And then around that November, December of 2019, right? That's when God was drawing you, opened up an opportunity to work in our missions office, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it was, oh my gosh, I remember that because I prayed, and obviously there is something about being faithful in the season that you're in, know, when sometimes it may not look exactly how you wanted it to look. And I remember that coming into Battlecreek was the role that I started as was not exactly what I wanted to do, but I loved kids. So, and somehow I just felt like, Lord, you opened the door in an area that I still love. But it was not what I wanted to, but I knew for some reason, even though this decision is so crazy, there's so much peace behind it. And then moving into, my role at Midtown, and just the spiritual growth that happened in that season, just being able to learn so much. And I think that's exactly what the Lord was, okay, be faithful where you are. And even though it was hard when I started and I cried my eyes out, then I moved to Midtown, and I had I felt like you develop a family, and it's like, well, how do I tell them that I am going to move on?
It's hard. Yeah.
I am about to break their heart. And just the door when it opened up, and I just remember there's something that I always talked with my mom, and my mom always said, like, every time, Delmy, I pray for you, and I pray for the Lord to, just be with you, and for him to always lead your steps. I always envision it as a chess game, and that he moves exactly the pieces where they need to be. So that is exactly how it felt when they told me, and they said, hey, Delmy, there's an awesome opportunity that we have, and we would love for you to be part of the missions world here about a Battlecreek church.
And God had started that years before on that trip to Jordan, and a church that loves the Middle East. And How awesome that you followed God. You
yeah.
were obedient to come to ORU and then to work in that department and then to
Yeah.
come here and all the way to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners, what exactly do you do now at Battlecreek?
Absolutely. I am the missions director, or what we would like to call it, because we just rebranded it, and it's called CARE, our care ministry.
Care ministry.
I oversee CARE. So I would like to say your care director. And we get to oversee some of the most amazing areas and just have that front row seat to what the Lord is doing through our church and our congregation. And I would say I could have not started in the best timing, that it was through COVID season.
Right at the beginning of it.
Right at the beginning. And I just feel like it just really just put us to work right away. And something, obviously, as you guys know from my accent, I am Hispanic or Latin. And that has always been a very special place. I mean, I'm super proud of who I am, super proud of my roots, super proud to be Salvadorian. And then if I have an opportunity to bring a Salvadorian to Tulsa, as you know, there's another one in our creative office. So I'm just proud of them, But anyway, what I would say is there's a part that we do that we get to be able to minister just not only to what my heart really just has a passion for, which is the Middle East, but also to our local families.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty awesome just how the Lord, even the desires, deep down in your heart that you think okay, Lord, if you ever were to open a door, I would love to work with Hispanic families at some point. And little did I know, I've gotten the opportunity to do that so much,
Sure.
through all of our local missions and just different things that we've been able to do. So
All right, so tell us about the care ministry here. What is care? Tell us what areas you guys get to focus on and how you minister.
absolutely. We have top three areas that we oversee, that our ministry oversees. And obviously I can't do it alone. So shout out to Sarah Espinosa.
Yeah, she's on your team.
She's on my team.
She's fantastic.
She is amazing. And she just has such a big heart. And I could not do what I do without her. And I try to tell her almost every day, hey, Sarah, I couldn't do it without you, because it is a lot, So anyway, we oversee what we call our local missions, our international missions, and then a huge part of our church and the heartbeat of our church that I feel it's adopted.
Yes.
So those are the top three areas that the care office oversees.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about each of those so we can kind of understand how we're ministering through care here at Battlecreek Church. Let's start with adoption. How do we minister to people who are in adoption, desire adoption? Why is adoption important to Battlecreek Church?
So I think that is a story that I'm going to save for Pastor Alex to share.
Sure,
Why is adoption
sure.
so important? But he shares it probably way better than me. But what I could say is there is, oh my gosh, so many families in our church. I think if you look around at every campus, you will find families that have adopted or are fostering.
Yeah.
So it is a huge part of our church since it started. I know that it started with a curriculum where they would teach and then just kind of go from there and try to take your next steps. So we've kind of put pause on it right now, and we're trying to relaunch it over the fall. So be in the lookout, because our adopted classes will start back in the fall. But ways that we support right now, and I think that's one of the things that I remember when I took over the role was, okay, what are some of the things that we really need to put our hands on? And we felt that a lot of our families that have adopted or are fostering just felt the need of feeling supported.
Sure.
So we partner with an awesome organization that it's called Legacy Family Network, and we have support nights once a month. So it's I believe it's on the second Wednesday. But you can find more information about this on our adopted Facebook page. And it's just different classes that we give throughout every Wednesday, once a month, sorry. And we just talk about hey, what it looks like to be with someone that you just brought to your house, or what it looks like to be with someone that you might be walking a hard season with, whoever you either foster or adopted. So it's just awesome because it develops a community. So we love on our families on that day, and also they're able to get community hours. And that's kind of one of the ways that we are able to just bring that support to our families.
We love adoption here.
Yeah.
We're all adopted,
Yeah.
We're all adopted into God's family, and Pastor Alex has such a heart and has brought that to our church.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sermon series you can go way back and dig. I think it's called the Adopted series, and we'll try to link that in the show notes. But it's so important as we think about, hey, if we can recognize that we've been adopted, And we think in your support of adoption doesn't just have to be that you foster or adopt. It's the care of those who do and the support of those who do. And so it's been the heartbeat of our church for a long time, and I'm super proud of that ministry. Let's transition to talking about how do we minister locally. That's the second area you talked about. Talk about our local missions here.
Local missions, it's been such a fun, wild ride. I remember that when Sarah and I were together, we were like, okay, Sarah, so tell us what are some of the stuff that we know that we do locally? And I mean, like I said, we started right away when all the COVID chaos and all the COVID craziness started. And the way that there's different areas on how we do it, but one of the best ways that we feel like we can minister to the city locally in our communities around our different campuses is by partnering with those organizations that know exactly what they're doing.
Sure.
So we partner with different organizations like John 3:16. We partner with, like I mentioned before, Legacy Family Network, the Share House, and that's just to mention a couple of them. And I know that if you ever need to know exactly all of the ones, we probably can link them on, what did you say?
The show notes.
The show notes. Yeah. I love that. And we can just share a little bit more about the different organizations that we get to partner with. But there are areas that we feel like they know better than us. So I know John 3:16 does a fantastic, phenomenal, all of the great words, job with the homeless ministry. Yeah. So as much as I would love to have something here, I know that they do a very good job on how they do it. So we partner with them. And then same with like the Share House. There's many times that we would get a phone call and I'll talk about this here in a minute, or like when we're meeting a need through Care Portal about furniture or anything like that. And the Share House is an awesome place where you can go and they have furniture for you and you were part of it.
Yeah. So back in the week of prayer and fasting, we really took Isaiah 58 to the next level because in that chapter it says to serve the people. And so we had service projects all over the city. And one of the ways that my family served together with my three little kids was the Share House. And I saw you, we were there at the same time. And it's a great ministry that collects furniture and then distributes them to people who really need it. And so if you have furniture that you're looking to donate, this is a great ministry to do it, who's not there for financial profit. There's other great organizations to give to as well, but this is one that gives directly to the people, and the men and women who lead that are so sweet.
They have the sweetest
heart for just helping those who need it the most. And so I loved getting to know that ministry, and they could use help all the time.
Absolutely. Sure. So if you ever want to get involved, the Share House is the place to go. So like I said, we also have another tool, and this tool is probably one of my favorite tools, and it's called Care Portal, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of us have heard of it. And
if I haven't heard of Care Portal, which I have, but if you're listening, you haven't, tell us a little bit about Care Portal.
Absolutely. Care Portal is an awesome tool that we are able to meet needs from families that are going through either foster or what we will call the DHS system, and then also meet needs for our local church members. But then also we not only care, Jeff, about our members, but we also care about our neighbors. So if you know of anyone that's in need, you can always email care@Battlecreek Church, and we will try to get that need posted through this portal. And there's different ways that the needs can be met. It's either through someone from your congregation, or is it someone from, just from another campus. So it's just an awesome tool that we've been able to connect with so many families. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the DHS portion of it through DHS. And it has not only impacted those families, but also the caseworkers. Yeah. So shout out to the caseworkers that come here to Battlecreek Church. Because of that, we're able to just have a front access to some of the needs that hey, this is a very important need that no one has met. Does your church mind taking on it? So we've been able to create such a beautiful relationship where they feel super supported by our church. And one of the opportunities that I got to help someone was they were coming over to the main campus to pick up a bus pass. And the girl goes, at our front desk, we have Bibles and says, need a Bible? It's free, or something like that. And she goes, hey, do you mind if I grab one? And I would just like to put the bus pass with, and give the family this Bible. So it's just awesome things like that are able to happen. So that's a little bit about what Care Portal is.
Yeah, let me just say that in my years of doing ministry, I've never heard of the creative approach to serving people's needs like Care Portal. I mean, think about it. We could collect money and then as a church distribute it.
Yeah.
And I think people feel good to give money towards a benevolent opportunity.
Yeah.
But when now we give the opportunity for them to fulfill it and they get to have an interaction with somebody and through that build a relationship and then through that share Jesus or just be kind and loving like Jesus would, it makes so much more impact, not just on the person receiving, but on the person giving.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're still confused about Care Portal, I would describe it as if it's like the Facebook marketplace of needs.
Oh my gosh, what a great way to say it.
So there's a list of needs.
I love that.
And you get an email and says, hey, there's a need that's popped up. And you can say, I'd love to respond. And it could be a bunk bed. It could be a bus pass or food or is all the thing we vet all the needs. It's all legit stuff. And I've heard church members at our campus say, hey, I need to know the need before it gets on there because they go so fast.
Oh my gosh.
And I want to meet them,
Yes.
So great stories of people connecting and helping somebody in a pinch, in a tough spot. And our people love being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Absolutely.
So it's a great tool. So where can they get more information on Care Portal?
Absolutely. You can email care@battlecreekchurch.com. We've made it so simple for you.
There you go.
I will say, Jeff, when we started, we had like 25 different emails. Not really, but maybe 5. And it was like, okay, no, we got to narrow it down somehow. So we made it super simple. Care at Battle Creek Church.
Battlecreekchurch.com. That's fantastic. All right. The last area I want to talk about is international missions. How do we care internationally?
So as you know, part of the heartbeat of the church, and we've talked about it, and you've heard Pastor Alex talk about it a lot in his sermons, it is adopted, but also his heart towards the Middle East. And we have the awesome opportunity to do ministry in Egypt and in Jordan. And in Egypt, there's 2 what we call campuses, but they look very differently. So I like to put it more of like community centers.
Yes.
And then same in Jordan. And the way that we do ministry there is through just so many different, literally, ministries. And you've had the opportunity to be there, so you've seen it with your own eyes. It's just an awesome place. And I would say it just bleeds everywhere because it feels the same in the 2 other places. And it's just through CrossFit or through that cafe or through a Bible class or through a business class or just through their next gen ministries that they have. And it's just all about building relationships.
Yeah. There's young adults. There's a youth group that meets there. There's a parenting class. There's finance. And now they've had to be creative too through COVID to minister online and do all these trainings. And listen, you've met them. I've met the people, but Pastor Tony and his team are phenomenal people.
Yes.
If you need I would say a catalyst in your own life, if you need a shot in the arm about what it means to be passionate for the gospel,
oh my gosh, yes.
Spend time with these people where Christianity is the minority.
Absolutely.
And where the work is huge, right? And they're doing a wonderful work, and it's so great to hear God working over there. And if you've never been to Egypt and you want to, go.
Right.
Go. It's so cool experiencing another culture and things like that, but it's so cool to see God working in another place.
Yeah,
It'll
and there's
challenge you.
nothing, like I said, just it looks so differently than our every Sunday experience or the way that we do church here. And it just does make you grateful to be at a place where you can just worship freely and openly. But one of the things that I do love, Jeff, through TC or that community is our recovery houses and just what the Lord is doing through. Just now this year, we're able to open up the Women's Recovery House. We just had a team that came back from that, and just the stories that you hear and just the way that the Lord is moving there. And it's all just, like I said, it's not so much how it looks your average Sunday service or how do you minister to people, but so much has to do with the way that you love others. And I will love to share a quick story of
absolutely.
This past trip, but Amy and Tara, who did an awesome job, so shout out to them. And they had all this curriculum. So they talked about just women in the Bible, right? How there's, the different things that they have to walk through and just how the Lord was with them throughout this whole time. And for a lot of them, through a lot of hardships that they've been in, I'm not going to go into detail into their stories, but just things that you're like, I would never imagine that something like that would happen to a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to say, I have never like known that women have that worth, you know? And so that was just one of the things that when I heard it, I was like, oh my word. And we can hear of like Esther and so many awesome women in the Bible and just like, oh yeah, another story, you know? But for them, it was just so like life-changing throughout this time that they were together. But one of my most favorite comments that I got back was they made this journal. So they taught them how to journal and how to write down, you know, their everyday or what, you know, if you do your quiet time in the morning, this is, you know, kind of teaching them that. But Amy and Tara had a couple of awesome women from this side of the ocean just write some notes to them, right? And I remember that we were in a felucca ride, and that's a boat ride.
Yes.
At the Nile at nighttime. And I remember just overhearing one of the sponsors there saying that journal was like handing off, if I'm saying it correctly, handing off a plate full of love to them. So, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, like I would have never thought of that. I did not even think that the journal was going to have such a huge impact in their life. And that was probably one of the most significant things that they were able to receive, just to see that other women are praying for them despite of what they've been through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a ton of ways to get involved with Egypt.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening, you want to go, you could be part of a medical trip. You can help with the recovery house. Maybe you just want to go on a vision trip and just go learn and look and be able to come back and articulate what is going on. If they want to be a part of an Egypt trip, what do?
They email Care at Battlecreek Church.
Listen up to battlecreekchurch.com, care at battlecreekchurch.com. So God is doing a ton of things over there. And we don't have enough podcasts to talk about some of those stories, but amazing people. You can follow some of those people online. You can follow, but I hope you get to go over there for sure. We've talked about adopted ministry, local ministry, international ministry. What's on the horizon for care ministry? Like what's coming up that we can be excited about?
So one of the things that we're really praying for, and we are so excited to start, and our goal is to start over the fall. So like I mentioned before, our adopted classes and our curriculum and our support groups and how we're wanting to relaunch that whole piece. So be in the lookout for that. We are so excited. We have been praying. We were supposed to have these classes over the springtime, and it just didn't work out. And I do believe that the Lord it's working on something pretty awesome. So we're very excited. So be praying with us. So that would be in the fall. And then another thing that we're also excited is to take this tool, this Care Portal tool to the school system. So we want not only to be able to meet needs and help others within our church or DHS, but also within our community. Yeah. We want it to be known that as Battlecreek Church, we just care for people and that we love people. So be praying that all of that ends up working out. But our goal is to take that tool into the school system. So
that's awesome.
Those are the two big things coming up, and we cannot wait to launch them.
We want our communities to know that Battlecreek loves Jinx. And loves Owasso and loves Midtown and loves Downtown and loves South Tulsa and loves Broken Arrow. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how all the things that God does through this will communicate that love to our
Amen.
Community. What are some ways that people can get involved with some of the care ministry?
There's different ways that you can get involved. If you want to be a part of, meeting needs in that community, you can. It all starts with one simple step. You email care at battlecreekchurch.com, and we will be able to get you plugged into the next steps for that. Same if you're interested on, hey, I would like to be serving with John 3:16, or I would love to coordinate serving nights with a different organization that we partner with, or hey, I just want to know more. I want to know what organizations you guys partner with, and I would love to be a part of one of them. We try to have a different variety because we know that we all have different flavors. So there should be something. We want to make sure there's something out there for you that you can be a part of, but it all starts with care@battlecreekchurch.com.
Come on. That's fantastic. All right, Delmy, before I let you out of here, lightning round of questions. I'm going to give you two things. You pick the one that you would like the most, okay? Coffee or tea?
Coffee, 100%.
Beach or mountains?
Oh, the beach. Yes.
Oh, I figured from El Salvador you may be torn a little bit, but
yes. No,
beach.
My heart goes there.
Okay. Netflix or YouTube?
That's a toughy one. I would say Netflix.
Okay.
It has all the great Spanish shows. If you ever Spanish television, like from Spain,
Yeah.
is one of my favorites. You can find some great ones there. Just
Love
wanted
it.
to say that.
I love it. Would you rather be stranded on a ski lift or on an elevator?
On a ski lift.
Prettier views, right?
Yes.
For sure. What's worse, laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
Which one is Josiah worst at? I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
I can totally say it too.
Would you rather explore space or the ocean?
The ocean.
Are you ebook or paper book?
Paper book.
What's comfort food for you?
Arroz con leche. Yep.
Where-
Which is like rice pudding.
Where can
I'm gonna
where
say.
can we get that in town?
You can get it at Pancho Naya Bakery. Or you can
Yes.
go to, there's this awesome restaurant that's called Tres Fronteras, and you can get it there.
Let's go.
Yeah.
If you had one last meal on earth before you met Jesus, what would it be?
Pupusas.
I don't.
Salvadorian food. Yes. It looks, I know. I can tell on your face, you're like, what did she just say?
I'm so excited. I don't even know what to say.
It is like a, so pupusas, it's a tortilla, and it has either beans or cheese or pork or just cheese, whatever you want, or cheese and jalapeno. You can kind of make it your own. And there's cabbage on the side, but it's soury, so it has like vinegar in it. And then salsa, which is just tomato, like salsa.
Yeah.
And that is it. It is so good. I know I probably have confused a lot of people, and they're like in their mind thinking, what is she saying? But whenever you have the opportunity and you want to try Salvadorian food, that's the way to start.
I'm so hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for sharing. All right, last question. You're on a deserted island. Food and water are provided. What else would you bring with you?
That's a toughy one. You got me there. Now you have me thinking. I would say a good tanning lotion.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to go with that.
Good
a good tanning lotion.
Good skincare. Well, Delmy, thank you so much for being here today. And we're so glad that God brought you here from El Salvador, and all the marks of your story that lead up to today and how you lead our care ministry. And we're so proud of you and your team and for what you're doing, not just in Tulsa, in America, but across the world. You are the center of our hands and feet ministry, and what you do is important, and we're so proud of you, and we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was one of the highlights of my week, I will say. So thank you for having me. And Pastor Jeff, you're awesome. You know that.
Well, we're glad to have you here on our church. Thank you so much for listening to Beyond Battlecreek. This show is produced by Battlecreek Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. To keep up with everything going on in the church, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you enjoy this show, be sure to share it. We'll see you next episode.